For the best deals on tires and rims, go to tiresourcecanada.ca. And don't forget to use their promo code HOC5 for a 5% discount on all the online orders. The link is in the description below. Hi guys, and welcome to another EV6 video. If you're already a subscriber, thank you and welcome back. But if you're new, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you know when the next video drops. Today's video brings mixed emotions and questions around EV ownership, especially when it comes to dealing with insurance after your car is in an accident or damaged for whatever reason. A subscriber reached out to me after his EV6 was damaged and after the mind-boggling numbers he heard from the insurance company. He has decided to stay anonymous, so the camera will be focused on me and he will be sitting in the passenger seat, and we're just going to refer to him as guest. And I'll let him tell his story.
This story starts back from January 2024 when I received my EV6 back from a repair. So I had an initial repair on my vehicle due to a Mother Nature damage, we'll call it. And I had my vehicle for another couple months. And then on January 3rd, the unthinkable happened. I had an error message pop up on my 2023 EV6 GT Line 2. The error message said, refill coolant. It was very curious. My wife and I were looking at the vehicle and we didn't understand what was going on. And that happened for a few days. We were driving around and it kept on coming up saying refill coolant. So finally, I decided to, call the dealership, and the dealership said, that's not normal. Bring it in the next day and we'll take a look at it. Brought it in and I went home, waited for some information, and I received a phone call from the dealership saying, well, we've got some disturbing news for you. Are you sitting down? And I said, yeah. And they said to me, well, it looks like your vehicle has been damaged by some sort of collision or accident, and the underneath of the vehicle was punctured, and it looks like it has punctured your battery. At that point, I kind of lost it, and I said, well, what do you mean by my battery was punctured? And they said, well, it's going to be around $55,000 to $60,000 repair. And I said, what? I said, what happened? I said, nobody got into an accident with this thing. I drive it. I baby the vehicle. I'm very protective of my vehicles when I drive them. So there was no accident. Nothing happened that I know of. And they sent me the pictures and I took a look at it. And the pictures showed some pretty heavy damage under the vehicle. There was a situation where the vehicle was backed up and there was a sign behind it. And we didn't see the sign, or I should say that sign was not seen due to mud and rain, sensors being covered. There was no warning. And when the sign was backed over, I guess the steel underneath broke. Now, because the vehicle is so insulated underneath at the bottom, there was no feeling at all about what happened. But what happened was the steel tore into the shield and it pulled the cooling system, all the wiring, the tubing, it pulled it out and it damaged it, and that's what was leaking the coolant the entire time.
Right.
So they brought their top engineer down from Kia Canada in Mississauga. He came down and he did a very comprehensive look at the vehicle. He ran all the test codes, and I received a phone call, later that day. And they said, well, the news is much better. They said, we ran all the test codes and it looks like your battery has not been damaged. Your battery is not punctured. Your battery is perfectly fine. So really all we need to do is repair these other issues, which was the housing for the battery, the shield, and the coolant system. And that bill was going to total between $15,000 to probably $27,000 around there. Still an astronomical repair and cost.
It is.
The insurance company decided they needed to come down with a third-party appraiser to look at it. This is where things got a little bit nightmarish. The third-party appraiser decided to not really look over or glance over the vehicle, and decided at this point he was going to go straight to the parts and ask for the cost of the battery. Now, I want to clarify, the engineer from Kia Canada came down and guaranteed and verified that the battery was not damaged. It was the housing, the shield, and the coolant system that needed replacing. He ran all the codes, everything. The appraiser was adamant, and the appraiser did claim to be an EV certified technician, that he wanted the cost of the battery. And the sales advisor notified to me that they did not even consider any of the other costs. They just looked at the battery cost. He circled it 3 times and walked out of the building. He was there less than 20 minutes.
Did not take a look at the car.
No. Well, he glanced over the car out in the parking lot, but not put it up on a hoist to look at the damage underneath and to see.
Which is what should have been done, because that's where the damage was.
Yes. And I was a little shocked by this, because every experience I've ever had was that when something is being verified in the insurance company, they should go through it thoroughly and verify all the information. And the people you would want to talk to is either the body shop, or in this case, because it wasn't a body shop issue necessarily, the dealership or Kia Canada. So the appraiser was very adamant that the vehicle needed to be written off. And I got a phone call from my insurance company, and they said, well, no, we're going to proceed with writing your vehicle off. I said, well, why would you write off my vehicle when it can be repaired? So we got into this discussion back and forth, trying to understand the necessities of why they needed to write this vehicle off. And it seemed that they were very adamant that that was the only choice I had. I didn't have any other decision on this. They were pushing the, well, we don't want to risk any safety to you. I said, well, if Kia Canada is guaranteeing that they can repair the vehicle, then wouldn't that be a guarantee to say the vehicle would be safe to drive? Now, I should clarify that the engineer did say that once the vehicle was repaired, they wanted to take it for a test drive, and to ensure that the vehicle was fine. I also need to remind you that I was driving the vehicle for 2-3 days after I was getting this error message, and I had no issues other than the fact that the coolant system needed to be...
Driving or charging?
Driving or charging, nope. Yeah, I charged the vehicle, I drove it, and it said that the coolant needed to be refilled. That's all the error was. So, after much deliberation with the insurance company, and we're talking like this is going on now for 3-4 weeks straight, talking to them, I was able to get the information from the appraiser directly, a quote sheet, and I was absolutely floored by the quote that they wrote on here. They said the total repair cost of the vehicle, not including, I should say, the coolant system. This was strictly the battery and the bumper replacement, $72,028 after taxes. So $72,028.72 was the total repair cost.
I'm curious why the coolant was not included, because that was the main component that broke or got damaged.
So I was able to secure the information from my dealership, and it specifies exactly what error messages or what needed to be replaced. And it says in here that the BMS data regarding the scan on the battery, all good, no issues noted, all battery cells showing active at 3.76 volts, current state of charge 58%. It specified in here that the battery would need a new casing or housing, but did not need, and they just needed to transfer all the battery modules over.
$72,000 and some change, taxes in.
Yes.
Labor included.
That was the appraiser's quote.
Everything all in.
Yeah.
Labor, parts, taxes.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So
on a car that's $65,000 plus taxes, which comes to around $73,000, and then minus the $5,000 rebate, so it's around like 68. But then they did increase the price.
So I paid $67,000 for mine.
Right. Yeah, $67,000, and they wanted $72,000 to repair it. Right.
Yeah.
I got mine. Mine was $65,000 plus taxes. Mine is a 2022, but I think they did increase the price by $2,000, right? Yeah. So let's say $70,000 even today. You know what? I'll look at the numbers online, and if I'm wrong, I'll put them on the screen. But a $72,000 repair quotation for a vehicle that cost $70,000, brand new, after taxes. Just let that sink for a minute. Anyways, go on.
So, ultimately, in the end, there was a lot of argument back and forth with me, the insurance company, the appraiser. And the confusion with myself and the dealership, who I need to give a shout out to. They were absolutely incredible. At the end, I'll let you know who the dealership was. But if anyone is ever looking for a vehicle and you're in their area, please deal with them. They were fantastic. They were just as confused as I was, because the quote for repair would have been between $15,000 to $27,000 all in. It was a matter of getting the parts in, and they said they could repair it. The issue there was they didn't know what to do. So they suggested that I maybe should just write the vehicle off at that point, to not have to go through these headaches. Me being the stubborn person that I am, wanted to know why. I was very confused by this, because why would you write off a perfectly fine vehicle that was less than 6 months old, to put me through this headache? And partially I was causing my own headaches by deliberating back and forth with them and arguing. What it turned out to be, and actually, I'll tell you this. This was an assumption. I went into the dealership one day, and I was just curious, and I wanted to know what the cost of the parts were. Like how much a battery module would cost. And they said, well, I mean, they're not cheap. They're around $12,000-ish brand new. They said, well, what could you sell these for? Well, they said they're not available right now, so they could probably get anywhere between $8,000 and $12,000 per module. So my brain is circulating, thinking, okay, they were very adamant to write this vehicle off. Could it be a possibility that they would benefit from parting out the vehicle? I don't know. So at that point, I decided, okay, we're into this now a few months, or not, sorry, a few months. We're into this more than a few weeks. We're into this about a month and a half. It's time to make a decision. And I've ultimately decided to write the vehicle off. And partially it was that the insurance company finally gave me somebody to deal with. There was a whole hubbub. I should tell you the other hubbub. They were constantly calling to pick up my 2023 EV6
without your authorization.
Without my authorization. I didn't release the vehicle. I didn't give them any reason to pick the vehicle up, and I was very adamant to say you are not to touch my vehicle until I had full information and I made a decision. They were calling the dealership on a daily basis to schedule a pickup for my vehicle, and at one day they actually called multiple times to pick it up. That was very disturbing to me, and if they did, I would have constituted that as theft, because I did not release my vehicle. I did not sign over my ownership. I did not say, yep, I'm going to write it off. I didn't. At that point, I was very, very strong on not releasing my vehicle. So I finally got put up with the manager, and she was excellent to deal with, and we went through everything, the pros and cons, and I ultimately decided to write the vehicle off.
Because the insurance person you spoke to gave you a valid reason. Which was?
So the valid reason is that if I did choose to repair the vehicle, there was two things that could happen. The title may become branded because it was going against their choices to repair the vehicle. Yeah, write off the vehicle. And the second thing is that it could take several months to get the parts in, and I have to wait and then go through the whole repair process. Now, I should say that she at that point was willing to call Kia Canada and talk to them, but everyone previously would have nothing to do with it.
Just in case you're not familiar with the terminology, when a vehicle is severely damaged but can be repaired, sometimes the insurance company would brand it as salvaged. And if it has a title that says salvaged, good luck selling it. Go on.
Yeah, she told me that the vehicle, if it became branded, would be absolutely worthless to trade in. Be lucky if I got maybe 30% of the value of the vehicle. of what it would. And the company, my dealership, and I'll let you know, it was Airport Kia in London, Ontario. They were already on the ball getting a vehicle for me, and they made phone calls, and they secured one that was already already en route overseas. So, I found out it just landed last week, so it's on its way.
Excellent.
A really cool thing for anyone who was wondering about battery is that it held its battery charge the entire time. It literally dropped only 3% battery.
Hilarious.
Even in the cold, too.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm wondering, and here's probably what everybody, or most people are wondering or watching this video. After going through all this, you still decided to go for an EV. The same vehicle, actually, down to the color.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't push you away from EVs because you didn't want to deal with this headache again, and you didn't go back to an ICE vehicle. Why?
Well, my experience with my ICE vehicle was cost of maintenance and repair and upkeep overall is going to be very expensive in the long run. My experience with my EV was incredible. I don't blame the EV for the situation. I blame myself because, in all fairness, when things like this happen, it is on the driver. We make the mistake, accidents happen. I also blame the insurance company for not understanding how these vehicles need to be repaired or having some sort of open dialogue. That isn't the vehicle's fault. The vehicle drove incredible. I had wonderful experiences in it. I was saving so much money in gas because I commute every day. I'm running, 135, 140 kilometers a day. I'm saving hundreds of dollars in gas.
Yeah. How much were you what were you driving in your ICE week as your ICE vehicle?
I was driving a 2018 Sorento.
Kia Sorento. Okay.
Yep. And
how
I
much
loved that vehicle.
What you're spending in gas?
$600 to $800. Sometimes when the gas was higher, $1,200 a month.
$1,200 a month.
Yeah.
And how much was the charging cost for the EV6?
So I have a charger at home. I installed that. The installation was around $2,000 to $3,000 total because I replaced my board. Mm-hmm. My costs for charging, nominal. I think my bill, well, I switched over to the hydro rates for EV. My bill actually went down a month. I actually was seeing a savings of around $10, $15 because I was taking everything that I use electrical and charging at, using things at 11 o'clock at night, dryer, washer, I have a gas stove, which saved money that way.
So you didn't see any uptick in your electricity bill?
No, not at all.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I hope you found the video useful, and if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and thank you for watching.